Welcome back to the Daily Rundown with me, Dan Morfitt, and my guests, Madie Howard and Doughty. Are you ready for more stories?
Yeah.
Ready.
So ready.
Shares in Nintendo have fallen by 17.7%. This comes after the gaming giant admitted that the success of their new app, Pokemon Go, wouldn't have any long-term benefits for their profits. When the app was first released, shares in Nintendo's doubled. However, even with today's announcements, Nintendo's profits are still up by 60%, but the company is still skeptical of the overall financial benefits of the app. So, are Nintendo being pessimistic about the benefits of Pokemon Go? Or is it just another craze like the Wii that might just die out? Cal, take the floor. This is your special subject.
This is my area. Nintendo, basically what they've done here is they've said to shareholders okay, let's back up a little bit. Pokemon Go comes out, who owns Pokemon as an idea, as like a property, their share prices skyrocket because, oh, Nintendo, Pokemon, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Nintendo, when Pokemon first came out, split Pokemon off into a separate company called the Pokemon Company, which is technically its own separate thing completely. So it works in association with Nintendo, but it's not actually
not part of the same Nintendo.
It's not officially the same thing. So they're in charge of Pokemon. Niantic's the people making Pokemon Go. So Nintendo only owns the Pokemon license. Shareholders didn't realize this. The shareholders of the company for Nintendo didn't realize that they only hold the license to Pokemon Go rather than all of the ins and outs of the monetary everything. So what Nintendo did this week was say, that's not going to have any impact on our profits,
a stock market warning.
Yeah, it pretty much they just said to them, look, we know you're very excited about Pokemon Go and having an impact on our profits, but you realise we only license it out, we don't actually make any of those profits ourselves.
So a fall of 17% though is not bad compared to when they doubled in
exactly.
size.
They're still significantly up. They had a financial briefing today which covered their Q1 earnings. Pokemon Go was released in Q3, so we're not going to see any impact from that for a little while yet. So it could be that when we actually see the impact that Pokemon Go has had on Nintendo, the share prices will drop even more as the rest of the shareholders get it. But it's until then, I think they could be all right.
Do you think by the time that profit warning comes up and they'll have more of an idea about their share price, do you think Pokemon Go will have gone as a fad? As
a fad? Possibly. I mean, it's not going to be as big as it is right now forever, but it is worth noting that it is bigger than anything has ever been on mobile. You think about Angry Birds, or you think about Candy Crush, it's bigger than that. When it first came out,
bigger than Twitter within a week, wasn't it?
When it first came out, it was the second biggest thing on the internet, only behind Google itself. So there's never been a craze like this since the original Pokemon released. So even if it does die out, even if only 10% of people playing right now are playing it in a year's time, that's still a significant amount of people.
Millions.
Exactly. It's still a huge amount of people that they can still cater to. So even if it's not as much of a fad, if it's not the case that you're hearing about it day in, day out, because those things do die out, they're going to be doing well off this for a while, because people are hooked.
You're already a Pokemon master. You're at level...
I'm level 18 in the game.
Madie, are you like me? Do you play the Pokemon Go?
I feel incredibly left out now that I know that millions are playing, but I don't have it yet. I was going to get it and then I just didn't. But I'm so tempted. I can't believe how big the craze is.
It's huge, yeah.
Just behind Google. That's mammoth.
It's not that big. It's already coming down a little bit now, but it's still pretty big. It's currently still releasing in different regions around the world. So they're still building that base. We're not going to see a little drop off for a while. They've got events planned, they've got updates planned and everything for it. It started off with the first generation of Pokemon, which is 151. There's currently 700 Pokemon, soon to be 800 when the new game comes out. So they've got a lot of things they can add to the game to keep that popularity going.
And you're wearing a Nintendo t-shirt.
I'm wearing
tonight.
a Legend of Zelda t-shirt and also a Legend of Zelda belt buckle, which you can't see on the camera.
Never let it be forgotten though that that's not Zelda, that's Link.
This is Link, yeah.
Do you think Nintendo were wise to basically fess up and say, you know what, the Pokemon craze is great, but it's not really ours strictly?
Yeah, they were incredibly wise to do that because we have, like I said, they had their financial quarter meeting today. So what they were doing when they came out with this saying, hey, it's nothing to do with us really, was just letting shareholders know ahead of that meeting, don't expect any Pokemon Go stuff, because remember, we're not doing that. Yeah. That's not us. You know that, right? And that's not us.
A damning but brilliant statistic from Nintendo itself. They made so much money from the Wii that as a company they could pay all their employees for 10 years without doing a thing.
That doesn't make shareholders money, though.
But
like they
shareholders.
could very easily pay all their employees and survive for a long time. I think it's about 3 generations, which is about 15 years.
But that's from the success of the Wii.
That's from the success of the Wii.
The Wii U, the follow-up, was
failure. Over the Wii's lifetime sales, they stopped counting it this week. It was 101 million. The Wii U, which they're stopping at the end of this year because it's a failure, sold 13 million, which is, I think that's like huge difference.
Yeah, 10% if that.
More than that, yeah.
Just a little bit more.
Just a little bit more.
So absolutely terrible. But it's interesting for them to come out today and say this, and the Pokemon Go phenomenon continues, and you are one of its main tenants.
I am. Yeah, I'm too knowledgeable about it. Sorry, Madie.
You're not too knowledgeable. It was beautiful.
Let's move on to our next story. The NSPCC have begun to train its counsellors to help parents who feel that their child is being radicalised. They've already had calls to their 24-hour phone line about the problem. Recent terror attacks around the world have highlighted the growing problem of people being groomed by extremists. In response, counsellors have been trained to spot warning signs in children. These include children isolating themselves or talking as if from a script. So, is this information usual and useful, or does it breed a moral panic in the country?
I'll let Madie cover this one because I did so much previously. You can speak a bit first.
I think it's obviously terrifying, and the moral panic is very much present anyway. This is just an extension of it, and it's a good step, obviously, to recognise where it's starting, or to try and pinpoint where it's starting. But what I think is still a bit of a worry is that the signs for a child becoming radicalised, or a teenager, are very much things that children do, or teenagers, that's just a phase they go through. They won't talk to you, they'll spend a lot of time online, they'll become withdrawn, They will talk as if talking from a script sometimes, because they think that's all other people want to hear. Yeah, and also you're trying to figure out your identity and all those things, so you're just copying things to say. So I think it's going to be quite difficult to be able to know, but I do think it's good that this is in place. So what you're saying is a key facet of adolescence mirrors basically the radicalisation and grooming of children into these extreme networks of terror. Yeah, and not just that. I think that in order to do this, it's preying on fear. And the most useful way to manipulate anybody is to prey on their fear. And that's exactly why. I mean, it's obviously hard to say why somebody would become an extremist, but if you already feel isolated, or like an outcast in society, say, and you're also horrified by that, not just for yourself but for other people, and somebody offers to parent you, which is essentially what it is, then it's probably really easy to get led astray, don't you think? Cal, in the wake of all these terror attacks in France, in Germany, in Belgium, do you think that this is just really poor timing, or do you think that this is a real problem? This is the NSPCC thing to start helping parents who think their kids might be being radicalised is the best. This is the best time for it, because what they're doing right now is pretty much saying these Muslim children, they're being radicalised, they're being taken over by this other group. They're separating it from Muslims as a whole, which is exactly what they should be doing, because they're pretty much saying, on a base level, they're not like this. They're not usually like this. They're being radicalised and they're being taken over. And we're here to help stop that from happening. So what people should be taken away from that is, because there is a lot of scaremongering, there's a lot of fear that I even heard today people saying like, oh, that's just what they're like as a religion. Like this is the base level. This is what they should be doing as a religion, and it's completely false. What people should hopefully be taken away from something like this is, oh, these are teenagers from this group of people who are being taken and turned into something that they're not, or they shouldn't be. It's interesting, the language as well, by saying they're grooming these children into radicalisation, because parents are so worried about their kids being groomed by other individuals on the internet. By saying these groups are grooming your children, it almost switches a light in your head and thinks, I really need to be more vigilant about it. Yeah. And I really need to be more careful about what my kids do online and who they're talking to, who they're hanging around with. Yeah, you're right. It did remind me of sort of in the early 2000s when there was a big scare about chat rooms, and it's the same kind of rhetoric and the same sort of threat, and it's similar advice, because there's nothing particularly that you can do other than to really monitor what your children are saying, who they're speaking to online.
The problem with this is that a lot of the terrorist incidents that have been happening have been taken on by individuals who have pledged allegiance to Islamic State, but might not necessarily have been part of a cell, part of a group, part of a network. They've just taken it upon themselves to do this because they might be lonely, they might be mentally ill, and they see a beacon, an excuse that they can sort of hang their hat on. So at the moment, is that another fear?
In a way, yes, but I think likening it to copycat attacks is probably not usually the case. I mean, I think these people who are doing these attacks in France and Germany and for all we know UK in the future, we don't know, that very well could happen. The reason this whole thing's set up is because I think these people are being reached out to, are being groomed from afar. So while they haven't gone across to the ISIS to do the ISIS boot camps, as they are known, or anything like that, they are being told what to do. They are being fed ideas and ideologies that they should be following, and then sort of left to their own devices, which is very dangerous, really. Especially, I mean, they want it to be dangerous. That's the point, but teenagers are volatile. They're like ticking time bombs, and that's completely natural. So when you feed these people ideas, and oh, by the way, everyone in this country hates you, you need to do something to fix that, it's going to happen. But I don't think it's necessarily that they're just hanging their hat on ISIS and be like, oh, I did it for them, because when you do something like that, it's not, you have to have some sort of reasoning behind it, and if you have that reasoning, then you want people to know the actual reasoning that you've done it.
So there is a real vacuum of responsibility here at the moment, and it's good for the NSPCC to have come forward with these guidelines today. Right, let's move on. It's time for another break, so please go and make that trip to the smallest room in the house, or send that Facebook message that you've been waiting to do for minutes, and we'll see you again in a couple of minutes with updates on the Ice Bucket Challenge and the Labour Leadership Contest. Interesting. Loads more to come on the Daily Rundown after the break here on Channel 7.